Anthony Richardson is the most interesting prospect in the entire 2023 NFL draft class and is truly a lottery ticket for whatever team takes a chance on him come the end of April. The 20-year-old has insane raw talent, some would even call it generational, but also has some flaws as an inexperienced quarterback. But before diving into Richardson as an NFL prospect, let's go back to his high school days where Richardson played at Eastside High School in Gainesville, Florida. He would be a 3-year starter there, really taking the reins as a sophomore when he threw for 1,234 yards and 10 touchdowns and added in 740 yards and additional 13 touchdowns on the ground. But his best season came a year later as a junior when Richardson passed for 1,567 yards and his high school career high 17 touchdowns. He would also practically double his rushing production in the same year, racking up 924 yards and 16 touchdowns. And heading into his senior year, Richardson had a ton of hype as one of the top quarterbacks in the 2020 recruiting class and even was featured on the popular Netflix show I've even watched myself, Quarterback 1 Beyond the Lights. But unfortunately, Richardson would suffer a season-ending injury after 6 games of the season and wasn't really able to fully build off of his breakout junior campaign. But with his insane athletic traits and prototypical size, Richardson was still a heavily sought after recruit despite his limited playing time in high school. He had offers from Penn State, Georgia, Michigan, and of course Florida, where he ended up going. And overall, Richardson was rated as a 4-star recruit and the 15th best quarterback in the 2020 class. When enrolling into Florida, Richardson was seen as a prospect and a player with immense potential but needing some type of development, especially at the college level. So Richardson would decide to redshirt his freshman year and only appeared in 3 games of mop-up duty for the Gators. His sophomore year, Richardson battled in the spring with Emory Jones for the starting job, but didn't end up winning the starting position to begin the year. However, as the season progressed, Jones's leash grew pretty short, giving AR some opportunities to show off his ridiculous talent in 8 games, where he completed 59% of his passes for 529 yards, 6 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, including 401 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. So we got a taste of what Richardson could be in 2021, but he had huge expectations heading into the 2022 season as he was the clear starter for Florida from day one. And he would put up his best season in terms of production with 2,500 passing yards, 17 touchdowns to only 9 interceptions, and also contributed 654 yards and 9 touchdowns on the ground. His best performance of the season, in my opinion, came in week 1 when he led the Gators to a 29-26 upset win over number 7 ranked Utah with 274 total yards of offense and 3 rushing touchdowns. He was magical in this game and even had a viral 2-point conversion play where he did a pump fake, spin off the defender, and then threw the touchdown to the receiver in the back of the end zone. But when you take into account Richardson's entire 2022 season, I think he underwhelmed just a tad. For every amazing play that he made and every efficient game that he played, it felt like he had equally as many bad plays and inefficient games, which is a part of the reason that makes him such a difficult player to assess. I mean, for example, the week right after Richardson's stellar performance against Utah, he would put together a terrible showing against Kentucky, only completing 14 of 35 passes for 143 yards and 2 interceptions, and he was practically ineffective the entire game. So this roller coaster ride that AR is taking us on his entire career is indeed worrisome, but it also gives you some hope that he can be an elite quarterback one day because those highs are that high. But after the college football season ended, I think most people thought Richardson should come back and return for his junior season and continue to develop before coming to the next level. That is not what he decided to do as he declared for the NFL draft. And what's crazy for me to think about now is when I look back at when that announcement happened, I vividly remember most people talking about him as a 2nd to 3rd round prospect and how a team will take a chance on him on day 2 or maybe late 1st if one team falls in love with him. But nobody, and I mean nobody, saw him as a top 10 pick in January, at least not that I saw. But as we've gotten closer to the draft and more teams have begun doing work on all of their prospects, he has seemingly shot up the draft boards, and it helps when you put together potentially the greatest combine showing for a quarterback in NFL history. And I'm not overblowing what he tested at the combine, it was absolutely absurd. Richardson measured in at 6'4", 244 pounds, and at that size he ran an official 4.43 40-yard dash and had a 40.5 vertical leap, putting him in the 99th percentile for quarterbacks in the athletic scale. And we already knew about his arm talent. We've seen him throw 75-yard passes with the flick of the wrist, and he showcased that again in the combine, throwing some seeds deep down the field. So after his combine performance was really when I saw his hype get to an all-time high as far as being an NFL prospect. But outside of his insane measurables, what else does Richardson bring to the table as a quarterback? Well, I already mentioned his elite arm strength and his ability to push the ball down the field. I think it's fair to say as soon as he gets drafted into the league, Richardson will have a top 5 to 7 arm in the entire NFL. And it's not just about throwing the ball 75 yards down the field. He can fit it into super tight windows that not many quarterbacks can do, but also to combine with his elite arm is his elite athleticism, which I think will translate nicely to the NFL as far as off-script playmaking. We saw it a ton of Florida, and I think we're going to continue to see it at the next level. But when he decides to take off, I already mentioned his speed. He runs a 4.4. He's a huge 6'4", 250-pound quarterback. He's not easy to tackle, so he's going to be able to break off some key runs in the NFL. NFL, and you're not going to be able to play a ton of man against him because he's going to be able to take off and pick up first downs. And that is something that we saw a lot at Florida when defenses did take away his wide receivers. He has the instincts to get out of the pocket and pick up a first down. And then lastly, another big thing that Richardson is really effective at is pre-snap reads. Last year, especially at Florida, he was pretty impressive at diagnosing coverages before the ball was snapped, knowing what defenses were playing, knowing where to go with the ball, when to be on time. And that is a really positive sign for a raw quarterback, that he can pick up those things, especially as a young quarterback who doesn't have a ton of experience. But as I've mentioned throughout this video, he does have a lot of things that he does need to work on to become an efficient passer at the next level. For starters, his accuracy and throwing mechanics were just not good at Florida, and those are things that is definitely going to have to improve if he ever wants to become a viable passer. In high school, he was around a 50% completion percentage passer. In college, he was around a 50% completion percentage passer, and that's not going to be good enough in the NFL to survive. You need to be at least in the low 60s. It's just not sustainable for your starting quarterback to only complete half of his passes throughout an entire season. But I think most of his issues come from throwing mechanics and footwork, and those things are fixable. We've seen it fixed with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts just in the last 5 or 6 years. So I don't think it's one of those things where Richardson can't improve and become a lot better at it, but he's going to need some time, the right situation, and a good coach to really get the best out of him. And then a couple other things that I think he really needs to improve on to become an elite NFL quarterback is his post-snap processing and his anticipation. Two fundamental things that a quarterback needs to have to play effectively at the next level. Throughout his time at Florida, Richardson would consistently have to see a wide receiver open before throwing him the ball, and that just does not work in the NFL. And I think anticipation kind of coincides with post-snap processing. Once Richardson gets some more experience and learns to trust his eyes and what he's seeing, I think more anticipation will come, but there's no way to truly know that until we see the reps. But in the end, I think Richardson is another quarterback in the new popular breed of elite tools and traits, but needs to be refined as a passer. He's got elite arm talent, he's got elite athleticism and elite size, but as far as playing the quarterback position goes, he does need to fix some foundational things. He's got to be more accurate, he's got to be able to anticipate more and also know what he's seeing with his eyes. So I think Richardson is a true boomer bust player, and it really depends where he lands, if he's going to be a star or if he's going to be a bust. If Richardson was in a draft 10 years ago, there's no shot that he would be drafted in the first 2 rounds. But the Anthony Richardson type of quarterbacks have become so successful over the last 5 years of the NFL that teams are way more willing to take a flyer on them. I mean, most of the top quarterbacks in the league fit this criteria. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and even Justin Herbert was kind of viewed in this same type of project mold. Teams have just gotten a lot better at developing these quarterbacks, and I think this new era is exactly why Richardson will be drafted in the top 5 come the end of April. A popular pro comparison for Anthony Richardson is Cam Newton, and I definitely see that. They're both freak of natures with tremendous size and a cannon. Similar to Newton when he came into the league, Richardson has to grow as a passer to reach his ceiling, which is an MVP caliber quarterback. But most mock drafts I've seen have Richardson going to the Indianapolis Colts with the 4th pick in the draft. Indy has been a place where quarterbacks go to die for the last 5 years, starting with the early Andrew Luck retirement, then their flurry of veteran quarterbacks. So are they prepared to take on a player that vitally needs time and a lot of development? I'm not sure. But what I can say is I'm a fan of Shane Steichen. He did wonders with Jalen Hurts, and maybe he can do the same with Richardson. The Colts also have some decent weapons in Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, and Alec Pierce. They also signed Gardner Minshew in free agency, who I view as one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league. So he would definitely be able to help out AR and be able to start while Richardson is developing. So it's not a terrible place for a rookie quarterback to go. I just have some concerns about their organization as a whole. But all in all, Richardson is a super intriguing player, and I definitely see why so many people are high on him and why he's going to be picked in the top 5 in just a few weeks. But if whoever takes him has a plan in place and brings him along properly, we're looking at the next elite quarterback in the NFL. But if they throw him into the fire right away or don't continue to develop him, which he desperately needs, it's not crazy to say Richardson could go down as one of the biggest busts ever. But let me know what you think about Anthony Richardson as a prospect, and if you see him ever becoming an elite NFL quarterback. And also let me know what team you think should draft him at the end of this month. But thank you so much for watching. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and drop a like if you did enjoy the video. It really helps out the channel. I got some more NFL content on the way, but until then, take care of yourselves, and I will catch you guys in my next one.